Hello everyone, so hope everybody is doing well. We are about to start our third episode on feline infectious diseases in catteries. So in the previous episodes, we discussed a little bit sanitary prophylaxis, medical prophylaxis in catteries. Today, we are going finally to focus on those most common pathogens, those parasites, viruses that can cause diseases in your cats, and we will focus on what you need to know on these parasites, on these viruses, etc. And to start with today, we're going to focus on gastrointestinal disorders in catteries. So let's jump to my short presentation I have for you guys today. Hop. So gastrointestinal disorders. Just to start with, usually in catteries, there are three main syndromes cat breeders might have to deal with: gastrointestinal disorders, respiratory disorders, and skin disorders. Today we'll focus only on GI disorders, but in the next episodes we will touch on the other two. And when it comes to gastrointestinal disorders, it's important to keep one thing in mind. There's a very, very long list of pathogens. I could even say an ever growing list of pathogens that can lead to gastrointestinal disorders, vomiting, diarrhea of all sorts. These are things that can be caused by those pathogens because they can be found in the digestive tract, in the intestines, in the stomach, and they will irritate the gastrointestinal tract, they will irritate the intestines, and you will see clinical signs showing up. So, and the list is very, very long. And as I said, ever growing. We will not be able to touch on all those pathogens today, and we will really focus only on the essential things you guys need to know. But when it comes to GI disorders, most of the time, in catteries, the two most common type of pathogens you can deal with are viruses. And when it comes to viruses, you can see that there are many of them. Parvovirus is certainly one of the most important one. This one causes panleukopenia in cats. And remember, I think I mentioned it in the previous webcast, but I often hear that, oh, we don't see panleuk anymore in catteries. It is a disease of the past. It is not. And we still have many kittens dying from panleuk every year because they are not protected enough or because there's an outbreak of panleuk inside the cattery. So this is a virus it is important to adapt your prophylactic measures, your sanitary prophylaxis and your medical prophylaxis to protect your cats against this disease, because it's a very, very common one. We often think that the most common clinical presentation is bloody diarrhea at weaning in kittens. Keep in mind that there are many other clinical presentations, one of them being acute death in kittens. So always keep this one in mind. When you have kittens dying at weaning, very often, well, the most common cause when it's infectious is often parvo. And you see here there's a name in red, astrovirus. Just to remind you that there are many viruses that can also cause GI disease that we cannot identify yet with the routine tests we use in veterinary medicine. Astrovirus, norovirus, these viruses, we do not look for them in routine, but we know that they can potentially cause diarrhea. So this is why when you test a cat which is sick with GI disorders and test comes back negative, keep in mind that it just means that we didn't detect the viruses we were looking for. There might be others causing the issue. So that's where sanitary prophylaxis will be key, because that would be a way to try to control as much the environment, which can be a vector for these diseases. The other most common cause of GI disorder in catteries is related to parasites. So internal parasites, intestinal parasites. And here again, the list is very, very long. Giardia, Isospora, this one might not ring a bell, but in fact, it's the scientific name for coccidia, Cryptosporidium, Toxocara, could be canis, could be cati. Trichomonas, this one is a very trendy one, I would say, and we're going to touch a little bit on this one. But those two main types of pathogens are certainly the most common cause of diarrhea, of GI disorders in catteries today. And I just wanted to remind you something I started to discuss a little bit in the previous webcast, but can we breed parasite-free cats? The answer is simple, no. And to explain you why, here is an example with the roundworm Toxocara. So you can see here a roundworm egg. Keep in mind that those eggs are highly resistant in the environment. They can wait years on the ground to be picked up by a cat. And what happens, in fact, is that when a cat ingests this egg, you see that the egg is going to go in the digestive tract, and it will start it will start its cycle, and it will turn into a larva. In an adult, typically what it will do is that, because of the immune system, which is very strong which is stronger in an adult, the worm cannot stay in the digestive tract because it will be destroyed. So it will migrate to the muscles very often, and in those muscles it will form a cyst, a kystic structure in which the parasite is protected. And when they are, this is a phenomenon we call hypobiosis. When they are in this cyst, there's nothing we can do to get rid of them. All the drugs we have, all the dewormers we have, will not be efficient on this specific stage. So today, that explains you why parasites are still there. We cannot so easily get rid of them. They don't have fertility issues. One Toxocara female will produce something like 900,000 eggs per day. So they are able to produce a lot of eggs. They are, and some of them will be able to infect the cats. And then inside the cats, they will go inside the muscle. They will go in these kystic structures, and they will wait. They are protected, and they will wait. They will wait for years sometimes, and they will wait for stress, for something that will decrease the efficiency of the immune system. Remember that stress leads to secretion of cortisol, and cortisol will suppress the immune system. So when there's a stress, this is a signal that will tell the worm that, okay, it's safe, he can start again and he can reproduce again. And then the larva will go back to the digestive tract, will transform into an adult, and it will start the reproduction. So they will start producing eggs, and the cycle will continue this way. This stress can happen anytime when an animal is sick, but in a cattery, it will also happen when the queen is in season and when the queen is pregnant. When they are pregnant, they produce an hormone, progesterone. We touched about that during the reproduction webcast. But progesterone will somehow suppress the immune system as well. So this is a time where the worms will be reactivated, and that where they will be able to produce again eggs, etc. And you can see that there are many, we typically find the eggs in the feces, and there are many ways for the eggs of those parasites to be transmitted to the kittens and even to the other adults. So, and you see that those parasites can be transferred through milk as well. They can contaminate the kitten through the milk. So that's why it's so difficult to get rid of them, and probably impossible with the molecules we have today, because we are not able to reach those kystic structures in which the parasites are, and they have so many strategies to contaminate the other individuals that it's definitely complicated to totally get rid of them. So it's important to keep in mind that whatever we do, there will be circulations of parasites inside your cattery. What we need to do is to control this as much as we can in order to prevent the occurrence of clinical signs. Because this is especially important in kittens. Kittens are definitely more prone to exhibit clinical symptoms for different reasons. This mainly happens at weaning, and this is what we call, this is one of the most common syndrome we see in catteries. It's called weaning diarrhea. at weaning, there's a big stress on the kittens because they move from milk to solid food, and their digestive tract is progressively evolving to digest something different than milk. So they are highly sensitive from a digestive standpoint. And they are also immature from a physiological standpoint. Remember what we said during the webinar on medical prophylaxis. Very often, around at the time of weaning, they are in this period of immunity gap, where unfortunately they can easily they can more easily get sick because they don't have enough antibodies from their mother to protect them anymore. But their immune system, their own immune system, is not yet ready to produce antibodies properly. So altogether, because of all these different factors, they are definitely prone to develop diarrhea, weaning diarrhea, and digestive symptoms during this period. And often I hear people saying, oh, we don't see parasite, there's no parasite. I told you that it's not because you don't see them that they're not here. The ones you might see are those roundworms. So yes, for sure, those roundworms that looks like spaghetti in the feces, you might see them when cats are heavily contaminated. But honestly, when there are just a few of them, very often you won't even see them. And their eggs will go totally unnoticed in the stools of your animals. Typically, when keep in mind that the parasite needs to establish a balance with its host, because it doesn't want to kill the host. If it kills the host, it kills what it's feeding from. So typically you might not see any clinical symptom, but the only worms you could see are those round worms, those big worms. Most of the other parasites will go totally unnoticed, like coccidia, for instance. They are microscopic parasites that can only be observed, as their name say, under the microscope. That's the same thing from giardia. Two things to keep in mind: giardia and coccidia are resistant in the environment. Coccidia cyst will need 3 to 5 days to mature in the environment before being able to infect another cat. So for coccidia, you understand that cleaning the litter box on a regular basis will be a way to break the cycle and to better protect your animals. Giardia are a little bit more complicated to deal with because they are the cysts of Giardia that are excreted by the cats. They are able to infect another cat as soon as they are excreted. So they don't need 3 to 5 days like coccidia cyst to infect another individual. So, but they are resistant in the environment, both of them. So for sure, we have good medical treatments. It's good first to identify what causes the issue. Then we have good medical treatments, but it will always be important for these two ones to combine a sanitary approach where you focus a lot on what can happen inside the litter box. Something else to keep in mind, another parasite that you don't see but that can cause diarrhea in kittens, Trichomonas, Trichomonas species, is a very trendy one, because 5 years ago we didn't even know about this one, but we know that this parasite can cause chronic diarrhea in kittens, very often a diarrhea that does not respond to usual medical treatments we use in case of coccidia and giardia. And today we have tests to detect them, but when there's a diarrhea which is resistant to those treatments, we always think of Trichomonas. Keep in mind that one different thing between coccidia and giardia, Trichomonas is not resistant in the environment. However, if you do not clean the litter box on a regular basis, if you have stools staying inside the litter box for several days, it can survive in the stool. It can survive in organic matter. So again, the hygiene of the litter box is really essential. And that comes back to what I was going to say. How to decrease the risk? You need to do whatever you can to prevent transmission at the level of the litter box, and that's especially important in kittens. So in kittens, I think it's important to clean and disinfect the litter box on a daily basis. When I say that, very often people say I'm crazy and this is not feasible. I know structures who do that, catteries which do that, and that's clearly the best way. to prevent transmission of disease at the level of the litter box. And it's not only scooping the poop, it's really removing the litter, cleaning and disinfecting the litter box, as we explained in the sanitary prophylaxis webcast, and put new litter. It's more expensive maybe, but again, that's definitely the best way to control the risk inside a cattery. Keep in mind that if you don't do that, and if you have GI issues inside your cattery, you can use whatever treatment you want. There's always a risk that those kittens will be recontaminated at the level of the litter box. So the hygiene of the litter box is key when it comes to deal with parasites and pathogens inside a breeding cattery. And something else which is important to keep in mind is that many of those parasites can be carried in a passive way by you, by your cats. So very basic measures of sanitation, like cleaning your hand, washing your hands on a regular basis, washing your hands before before doing anything with the kittens, washing your hand after dealing with the kittens to avoid spreading those germs everywhere inside your cattery, are important. When we deal with Giardia or Coccidia outbreaks, that are especially Giardia outbreaks, which are very difficult to contain sometimes, we know that some Giardia cysts can be carried by the coat of the animals. So in kennels, we can easily wash bath our dogs. That's a very good way to decrease the amount of parasite they carry. In cats, it's a little bit more tricky. I guess you will agree with me on that. But I know certain breeders who are able to wash their cats, to bath their cats, sorry. So if you can, and if you have GI disorders, that would be an interesting measures to put in place, because that would definitely help to control the transmission of those diseases just by removing mechanically the parasites those cats carry on their coat. And something else that you can focus on in order to decrease the risk in kittens especially is how you do the nutritional weaning. So we already mentioned a little bit that these disorders mainly appear during the weaning period, because there are all those things happening at the same moment. And one of the things which is happening is that they move from milk to solid food. So nutritional weaning, the way you do the weaning is important. There are plenty of different recipes out there. And there's one I proposed on our blog that you can have a look into if you are interested. But the main thing you need to know about nutritional weaning is that first, it needs to be progressive. Sometime in catteries, what I see is that we let the kittens eat the food of the mother. So there's no progression. They are directly eating dry food, while we need to move from something which is like a mush, which is soaked, etc., which is very easy for them to chew and to eat, to progressively reach the dry stage of the food. So we shouldn't go directly from milk to dry food. It must be progressive. Something that we could discuss as well is the number of meals per day. We don't have data today in cats, to tell the truth, but in other species, especially in dogs, we know that depending on the number of meals those animals receive per day during weaning, that will modify the consistency of the stools. So for instance, if you give them 4 meals per day in puppies, you will have better stool quality. So this is something we definitely think is the same in kittens. I know that cats have a different feeding behavior, blah, blah, blah. I'm not going to argue with that. But at the time of weaning, I think it's important to give them several smaller meals during the day, because it will help them better control, better transition from milk to solid food, that's for sure. And this is something we try in catteries with good success today. And one thing which is important is to avoid overfeeding. Sometimes food is left at the disposal of the animals, so they can eat as much as they want. So for sure, certain cats can auto-regulate themselves. But in kittens especially, this is not always true. And overfeeding can definitely lead to an overload of the kitten digestive system. So then it turns into a diarrhea of overconsumption. So that's definitely something you can avoid by controlling the amount of food you give them on a daily basis. Nutritional weaning is critical. And again, if you want to know more about that, don't hesitate to visit our blog, because you'll find much more information on this very topic. So that's what I wanted to tell you this afternoon on this GI disorder. So again, we cannot touch on all of them because it would be a 24-hour webcast, and it's definitely not the point. But I hope you grasp the most important points I wanted to show you to this afternoon. Remember, there are much more information on the blog, so don't hesitate to visit our blog and see the different articles, ask questions, comment, share your experience. The more people discuss in this feline breeding world, I think the better, because that's how we will help this world move forward, for sure. So thank you very much for attending to this webcast. I hope to see you soon for the webcast number 4, which this time will focus on respiratory diseases in catteries. Bye-bye.